Okay. Good morning, everybody. Let us begin with metta. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth. May all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision. Removing desires for sensual pleasures, one comes never again to birth in the womb. Okay, let us begin our regular meditation along with this metta. Let us pay attention to our breath and notice the breath touching our nostrils, reaching lungs, and then expanding lungs, expanding lower abdominal area. As we breathe out, abdomen contracts, chest area contracts, the breath leaves our nostrils. These three functions take place all the time we breathe in and out. Also notice at the same time the feeling of the breath, perceptions, volitional formations, and consciousness also change much faster than the rising and falling of the abdomen or chest area or breath moving in and out. Constantly feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness change. And these are what we call 5 aggregates, groups, composites. Each of them is rising and falling all the time. What rises falls, what rises falls, what rises falls. Nothing stays behind, no residue left behind. Everything rises and falls. What is fallen or gone or disappeared is gone forever, and new feeling, new perception, and so forth arise. It happens, their rising and falling happen so fast that we cannot isolate one of them. Therefore, we feel like them one continuous occurrence. For instance, feeling is continuous occurrence, perception, and so on. But they rise and fall very quickly. When we see this, any desire for clinging to anything fades away. This is how greed fades away. Greed is one of the hindrances. Desire for pleasure, sensual pleasure. And then the body relaxes, mind relaxes, breath relaxes. In this relaxed state, there is no rigidity, uptightness, and no resentment or anger. That situation arouses our metta feeling. That is, among feelings, metta feeling is one. When metta feeling arises, compassion arises because there is no restlessness and worry. When that happens, mind becomes even more active, then our sleepiness and drowsiness fade away. When all these happen in our own personal experience, we will have confidence in our practice. What we read and heard is happening in us, and therefore the theory and the practice produce the same results. Therefore, confidence arises in us. With that confidence, joy arises, and when joy increases, it leads to happiness. When happiness is there, the body and mind relax more, and tranquility arises. All this make the mind and body so calm, relaxed and peaceful without any disturbance, any shaking. Concentration arises. When concentration arises, it is not deep concentration, but sufficient to see the subtlest changes, impermanence in the subtlest way. So our deeply rooted notion of permanent something also shatters into pieces and disappears. And therefore, with this experience, we continue our practice. dukkha paccāca nidukkha, bhaya paccāca nibhaya, soka paccāca nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this metta thought, let us continue our talk on. Now we are talking on the various stages of mind or mental states. We discussed earlier greedy mind and non-greedy mind. Then we discussed hateful mind or unhateful mind, not hateful mind. We said that our mind is always not full of hatred, anger, resentment. Anger or resentment arise periodically. It can arise during our sitting on cushions or standing, walking, lying down, working, when we have conversations, when we eat, drink, any posture, any time. Greed can arise, resentment or anger can arise. We talk in this section, Buddha especially used these three main roots of defilements: greed, hatred, and delusion. Now, we get, we will have those states at any time. And these are the most harmful roots of defilements. And therefore, we should not assume that they arise only when we sit in meditation. They can arise any time. So this meditation, when we remain mindful, we will immediately be able to detect as they arise. So when the mind is not does not have any anger, resentment, whenever it arises, right then and there, we must detect it, be mindful, and overcome that. We will give some examples later on. Now, for now, we remember this. Then delusion or non-delusion. Generally, mind is not deluded. Occasionally, due to various reasons, we can get confused. As soon as it arises, as we are remaining mindful, as we use our sati sampajanya, as we use our mindful reflection, what is called yoniso manasikara. Yoniso manasikara is reflection from the root. Yoni means the root, the beginning. There are three major roots on the unwholesome side, three major roots on the wholesome side. Unwholesome roots are greed, hatred, and delusion. Wholesome roots are non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. When these states arise, immediately we detect it, isolate it, and deal with them. That is the purpose, not only simply becoming greedy mind as greedy mind, knowing a greedy mind as greedy mind, hateful mind as hateful mind, deluded mind as deluded mind. Recognizing that they are in such a state is the step number one. Number two is doing something about it. So then we go to the next one, the pair, fourth pair. You see there are 8 pairs and 16 individual mental states. Uh, greed, non-greed, one pair. Hate, non-hate, another pair. Deluded, non-deluded, third pair. Fourth pair is contracted or distracted, or not contracted, or not distracted. That means when we are in certain mental states, focusing our mind, we are in mindful state. Remember, we are talking about the uh, mindful behavior. When we are mindful, something happens to distract us, some disturbances, something shaking us up, maybe a sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, or thought. Something like this can happen, and then the mind can be distracted. Contracted means mind is also with sort of Sankita. Sankita in Pali is in fact withdrawn. Sometimes mind is scattered, sometimes withdrawn from everything, and both states we have to identify very clearly: contracted state mind and distracted state mind. This contracted state is not the wholesome state, because that is sort of withdrawn state. Everything is sort of is gone. One is not interested in anything, and almost like depressed state. When it happens, uh, one would become mindful of it and do something about it to get rid of that. Then fifth pair, non-developed mind and developed mind. Non-developed is so when you it's called Mahagata, Amahagata. Mahagata is a state of attaining jhanas. That means this is different from contracted mind. This is developed mind is the mind that has attained jhanas, like kamavachara, rupavachara. That is, the mind is developed mind means rupavachara, arupavachara, chitta in Pali. Rupavachara chitta means the mind is wandering over the fields of sound, smell, taste, touch, and thought, uh, or it is attain the state of jhanas. Rupavachara, Arupavachara. Rupavachara means mind wandering in the Rupa world, the world of forms. Arupavachara is the mind is wandering over non-form, that is Arupavachara. That means mind can be in jhanic state of Rupavachara jhana or Arupavachara jhana. Rupavachara jhana means there are four concentrated state of mind which can bring one into fine form material existence. Arupavachara means non-fine, non-material existence. It is only the state which is not mentioned in text as jhanas, but they are called ayatanas. Rupavachara, Arupavachara, Rupavachara jhana, Arupavachara ayatana. For instance, Akasanancha ayatana, Vinyanancha ayatana, Akinchanya ayatana, Neva Sanjana Sanya ayatana. They are called Arupavachara, that is immaterial attainment. So the meditator, when one sits to meditate, perhaps if the person gains good concentration, overcome hindrances, five hindrances, greed, anger, restlessness and worry, sleepiness and drowsiness, and doubt. When one overcomes these five hindrances, one attains jhanas, concentrated state, which goes from 1 to 4. They are called first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. They don't have particular name, but they are given by numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Arupavachara jhana, they are called jhana, but normally they are not listed in text as jhana. They, as I said, they are listed as ayatana. They have names. Akasanancha, Vinyanancha, Akinchanya, Nevasanyana Sanya, Ayatana. So when one attains these states, one would become aware of it, or aware of that state, and those are the fifth pair. One, if one has not attained any of them, he knows that he has not attained any of them. If one attains those states, he knows that they are. Then, sixth pair is not supreme or supreme. Again, Kamavachara or Rupavachara. One would know this supreme here, surpass and unsurpassed, means not ordinary states of mind. This is the state where one has attained supramundane states. Surpass, unsurpassed, use for supramundane attainment like stream entry, once returner, never returner, and arahathood. If one has attained any of these states, one would know that one is attained the stream entry and so forth. As soon as one overcomes three fetters, not hindrances, he has already overcome hindrances. In order to attain supramundane state, one must overcome fetters. There is a difference between hindrances and fetters. Hindrances are uh, overcome by attaining jhanas. Fetters are overcome by attaining stream entry, supramundane states. So, when one attains the supramundane state, at least the sotapanna state, overcoming three first fetters, this is wrong view of permanent self and doubt and believing in attaining liberation by following rituals. These are the three major fetters. First fetters. When one overcomes these, one would be in stream entry fruition state. If one has attained one of them, destroyed one of them, he would be in supramundane path state. If he destroyed two of them, he still will be stream entry fruition path state. When he destroyed all the three fetters, then he would be in supramundane fruition stage. If he has not attained any of these states, uh, he knows that he has not attained. Then seventh pair. Seventh pair is not concentrated or concentrated. That of course is very obvious when one gains, when one overcomes hindrances, one gains concentration. When one has overcome only one hindrance, he is not, he has not attained gain concentration. If he overcome two hindrances, still he has not attained, he has not gained concentration. If he overcomes three hindrances, still he has not attained, he has not gained concentration. So he has to overcome all the five hindrances in order to gain concentration. So he must be very mindful and attentive to understand whether he gain right concentration or not. Sometimes in the name of concentration, people can fall asleep. That one must recognize, understand, and that one is not in a real concentrated state of mind. Eighth pair is not liberated state or liberated state. Liberated state means full arahanthood. Of course, this also is possible if somebody practice meditation as the Buddha mentioned in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta. If one practices four foundations of mindfulness, one can attain full enlightenment. As these eight pairs are listed in this way in Mahasatipatthana Sutta, so the assumption is that one practices this, that person is expected, or it is possible for that person to attain full enlightenment, and mind can be totally liberated from all hindrances and all fetters, and practice the uh, Noble Eightfold Path in at supramundane level for 128 occasions, meaning one attains stream entry in supramundane level, then he continues to practice noble supramundane noble eightfold path. That is, there are eight. As a stream enterer, he practices Noble Eightfold Path, supramundane level. When he attains uh, stream entry fruition state, he continues to practice Noble Eightfold Path at supramundane level. That means in stream entry path state, he practiced Noble Eightfold Path, that is, there are 8 steps. When he is in stream entry fruition state, he practices the Noble Eightfold Path. So there are Noble Eightfold Path that he practiced twice. That means each occasion after attaining stream entry, he does not give up the practice of Noble Eightfold Path. When he reaches the stream entry fruition, still he continues to practice Noble Eightfold Path. Like this, in one's eternal stage, he practiced Noble Eightfold Path twice at stream at the path state and fruition state. Never eternal state, he practiced Noble Eightfold Path at path state and fruition state. When he attained full enlightenment, Arhathood, in Arhathood path stage, he practiced Noble Eightfold Path. In Arhathood fruition state, he practices Noble Eightfold Path. Thus, he practices Noble Eightfold Path 128 times. That is 16 times 8. 8 means 8 stream entry path and fruition. 2, 3 is stream once return a path stage and fruition stage. There are 2, 4. Then never return a path stage and fruition stage to 6. Arahant path stage and fruition stage to 8. So, Noble Eightfold Path, he practices on path stage and fruition stage 128 times, and that is how he lives Arahant after attaining Arahanthood. That is how he lives. He lives with the supramundane, noble, eightfold path. So his attainment is perfect. Now, what we can do to overdo in the practice, replace when one of these defilements arise in the mind, we replace it. That defilement we replace with its opposite. For instance, when greed arises, we practice in our mind, practice the awareness of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness, and practice the thought of generosity to let go of greed. When hatred arises, again we practice metta. First we overcome hatred and then practice metta to overcome, to not to have the hatred again. Of course, for that we have to pay total undivided attention. When we pay attention to some wholesome aspect, then unwholesome state disappear. Just as a skillful carpenter or his assistant using put drive a nail to a wood, and if the nail gets stuck, he uses another small nail to drive that nail out or take this nail, big nail out of the wood. Similarly, we have to remember to overcome this particular hindrance, a particular mental state, by using another more fine, more what you call forceful, wholesome mental state. Then we also must understand any of these unwholesome mental states is not going to produce happiness. They produce pain, harm. So we have to examine its danger in that contemplates that such thoughts are reprehensible and result in suffering. Just as a person young person who likes to be look like to be attractive, healthy. So if any animal's carcass is around his head, around his neck, he would feel horrified, humiliated, and disgusted. Then he immediately try to remove it from his body. Likewise, when one sees that these unwholesome states produce pain and suffering, he would do something to get rid of it immediately. Then, as I mentioned earlier, you have to remember that they are impermanent. So if the thought still stays, remind yourself that every mental state that arises and passes away, it doesn't stay. Then, leaving the first stage, the mind gets to the next, just as a man who is walking fast might think, why am I walking fast? What if walk slowly? Then he walks slowly. Later he might think, why I am walking slowly? What if I stand? Then he stands. Later he might think, why I am I am is standing. Why not I sit down? And then he sit down. When he sit down, he might think, why I am sitting down? Why not I lie down? So he assume finer postures to overcome harder postures. Similarly, when this unwholesome mental state arises, he must use his understanding of Dhamma and a practical way. If the thought still remains in your mind, then with the teeth clenched and tongue pressed against the roof of your mouth, use all your energy to overcome it. Crush mind with mind, just as a strong man might seize a weaker man by the head or shoulders and beat him down, constrain him, and crush him. So these are the ways that we have to use to overcome these unwholesome mental states. So once we recognize them and use some of these methods to overcome these mental states. With these friends, I like to end this morning's talk on the mindfulness of the mind or mental state of the mind. And now we want to end the session with metta. So let us wish once again all those who are suffering from this, particularly from this COVID 19 and suffering in hospitals, may they recover quickly and return to their normal life and continue their Dhamma practice and finally liberate themselves from all sufferings. Then there are many doctors, nurses, hospital staffs who help those people. May they continue their selfless service, compassionate service, and they also uh, remain healthy to continue their selfless service and liberate themselves from any samsaric suffering. There are many people who lost their loved ones. They may have been grieving. Let them be free from grief and return to their normal mental states and to continue Dhamma practice and finally attain liberation. There are many generous people who are supporting all these projects, hospitals, organizations, using uh, research, what you call vaccine research, and all this they are supporting in many ways. May they continue their generous support. Many leaders have been working hard to overcome them. May they continue their work. Other leaders are still trying, and may they too have wisdom, courage, understanding, determination to make right decisions and attain liberation. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.